What up, everybody? Spiritual experience. We are back. Another episode. Spreading that love. That's Willie Hutch. You guys know the deal. Come on. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I hope you guys are having a great time. Hope you're collecting great moments. I don't know. Shut that off. Yeah, man, it's been busy last couple of weeks. Whatever. Every introduction is the same. It's been busy. I've been busy. It's been uncomfortable. I've been uncomfortable. Yeah. Because I am trying to, I'm trying to be great, man. I'm trying to be great, man. I'm trying to fight the good fight and, make good use of my time on this earth, and that's why I'm always uncomfortable because, it's a, if you're just comfortable, are you really, I don't know. I shouldn't say, are you really? I don't know. Half of the time I try to take the focus off myself and, but then also only use myself as the example because people get so offended so easily about some of my ramblings. But if you're just comfortable and you're just kind of mailing it in, what does that really say about, how effectively you're using your time? This time could be over at any moment. It really can. And even if it's not. So it's not like, living in this fear like, oh, my God, I could die at any time. It's like, no, man, we are living right now. So what kind of living do we want to be doing? What kind of living do we want to be doing? I meditated today for the first time in a little while. I go off and on with the meditation. I love it. And because the meditation is not, I don't get anything from meditation itself, but it's like, clearing the mind and blah, 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 and all the woo, woo, woo shit. No, but where the benefit for me comes is me, wrestling myself into submission, like making myself sit still and do shit that I don't want to do, and that's where the benefit comes, I can take, 8 minutes or 12 minutes, however long the meditation was or is today. I could take that. And, I use the Headspace app. They're pretty good. And I know there's a lot of other shit. There's, it's whatever, man. It's whatever. It's whatever. It's however you make it to yourself. And it's funny because today is Friday. So it's the Sabbath. And, So where I was parked up at, there was this Mexican guy selling flowers, man. And, because Jewish people come and they buy friggin' flowers every Friday. It's part of the thing. They bring them to their wife, blah, blah, blah. It's a pretty good custom to have, to bring home flowers every Friday for your wife, right? As much as bad press that Jews get, some of the customs are really good. And, And I was thinking, man, I was like, yo, man, I wish. There's this, video that I've watched maybe, I don't know how many times I've watched it a lot, of this guy. I'm sure you've all seen it. This guy who buys out all this lady's flowers on the friggin' subway, and she cries and somebody secretly videos it and whatever. And it gets posted all over YouTube and whatever. The guy's he's what do you call it? he's basically kind of like anonymous. I mean, I don't think anybody knows who he is. I don't dig into the story that well, but that's like a great thing to do. I mean, listen, he gave the lady, it wasn't all the money in the world. It was like $150. Bought all her bouquets and said, listen, now you just, instead of selling them today, now you just give them out. Give out the flowers, give out the roses, whatever. So anyway, so I saw this guy, and the guy was fucking old, man. When I mean old, maybe he was, I don't know, no offense. He's definitely in his mid-60s, and he had some miles on him. And I couldn't tell, he might have been, I wouldn't say, he's definitely not Ecuadorian. But he was like either Mexican, maybe Salvadorian. He could have been Guatemalan. It's, it's not always easy to tell, but in that region. Yeah, so anyway, and I was looking around, I was like, fuck, I don't have any money. Today would have been my dad, would have just gone. I mean, he was old enough that you would have felt good about just going there, giving him the money, sending him home, That you're like, wow, man, this guy's out there slinging roses or slinging flowers or whatever, which is okay. So, but I didn't have the bread, and I was like, oh, man. I was like, but I'll find a way. I'll find a way to do stuff like that. And I talk about that kind of stuff because, like, there's like a dichotomy of, are you being like so spiritual that you will do things and videotape them? And there's, I believe in both sides of that fence. You do good stuff. And if you put it out there, it will maybe help motivate other people to do good stuff. Instead of just being like, oh, I need to have all the virtue of just doing it all anonymous, and that's it, and that's not, so there's good and bad in that, I guess there's good and bad. I don't, what do I know? But, I don't know if I would have even had that idea if, if I didn't watch this guy's video, and it makes me feel good every time I watch it. So I go back, I watch it, and then, I do things in my own life that make me feel good like that. I donate a lot of my time to people in the community. That is number one, whether it's in recovery, in AA. I help a lot of motherfuckers, and which is a service. People think that's a service to the drug addicts and alcoholics or whatever, but it's not. It's actually a service to everybody, because one less guy out there being a fucking junkie maniac is less cars being broken into, less domestic violence, less people in jail, so it's like a huge domino effect, when you help somebody stay clean. And it's funny because my dad, he ran into, there's a kid that I grew up with. I'm not going to say his name. I love that. I'm not going to say his name like he's in WITSEC. No, because I don't want him. It's not embarrassing, but it's for him to say, not for me to say. Anyway, so this kid, like, he had the same kind of, we had a lot of different parallels when we were growing up. So I remember the first day, the first time that I ever went into a hospital, right? And those of you who know me from the rooms know the story, because I tell the story all the time to illustrate how bizarre my perception and my mental faculties are when it comes to not just drugs and alcohol and women and money, but like a lot of other stuff too. So anyway, so I'm going into this hospital, whatever. I ingested a lot of stuff. I was in maybe the 8th grade, I think I was in the 8th grade. I don't know what grade I was in. I think I was younger than 15. Now, if you ask me what I did that day, I would say, I drank a lot of drinks, 40s, whatever, all this other stuff. What else did I do? I took like a whole lot of these caffeine pills, Vivarin. I remember because I stole them. I took all these caffeine pills. I just did whatever just to get out of myself. When you're a kid, man, you'll take fucking caffeine. You'll take anything to get high, So caffeine pills, alcohol, weed, I think I snorted some Special K that day from Caffeine Jones. Shout them out. From New City. There was this girl that was like out there slinging that stuff. It was funny. It was like the first female drug dealer I ever met in my life. So either way, I'm fucking banged up. You know, I'm banged up. I'm downstairs in the den of my parents' home, and my sister is there with me, and I'm like, yo, listen, I can't breathe on my own. Now, I know the difference between being very fucked up and then something being terribly wrong. It's happened that time, maybe one other time. I think it happened 3 times. 2 of them were like a little theatrical, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it was bad. Either way. So, first time going in, boom, them going into the hospital. They got in reality, if I'm looking back, who knows what the triggering was. But I felt I was scared, and I made her wake up my parents. I was like, listen, it's fucking bad. You got to take me to the hospital. They're like, what? Like, it's like such a, I blindsided them with like just the way that I was, man. I was just a very, yeah. What do you call it? It's like, when these soldiers hunt for IEDs or a minefield or something, like, I never gave them a restful moment. Like, never, that I can remember. I was completely unreliable unless you were expecting the unexpected. Then you can rely on that. So, either way, what's the point? The point is I'm going into the hospital. Now, they're hooking up, the suction cups, all the other shit. And on my way in there, I see my friend. I see him. And I'm like, but I was like gurgling, burbling. And like and I was like, what are you doing here? And I saw his dad, and I think I saw him. Either way, he made an attempt on his life that same day. Right? He made an attempt on his life that same day. So my dad and him were having these conversations while I was strapped to a gurney, and the 2 Jews are trying to figure out what the fucking problem is. My mom is doing all her rosary shit or whatever. And in my mind, right, there's all this commotion, and it's pretty bad. I couldn't really speak clearly. But yeah, in my mind, I knew that, I said, today I just did a little bit too much. Meanwhile, I don't want to over dramatize it and say, oh, my life was on the line. But, they were keeping a very close eye on me because it was fucked up. And I couldn't, whatever. Who knows what was in the Special K packages. I don't think you can die from a caffeine overdose, but I don't know. I don't know. Either way, it was not a happy Sunday. And yeah, so that was it. And anyway, so this kid, yeah, he's been tied to me since that day. And we were very good friends growing up. Yeah, like I loved it. This guy, he never did nothing to me. I never did nothing to him, which is nice because I can't really say that about a lot of the other people I was in contact with most of my life. So the point is that many years have gone by since that day, 30 years, right? Now, in that time, he's had some very wild successes, and so have I. And he's had some very bad falls. He's had some very bad falls. But he stayed, he stayed drinking and he stayed drugging. And I did too until I stopped. Now, you guys know I stopped a long time ago. So this kid has been going. Now, I think maybe 10 years ago or more, maybe 12 years ago, I don't know how I ran into him. Maybe it was Facebook, maybe something. And he told me he was like ready. He was like really, he was in a bad way. And I was like, bro, I'll just come check you. You know what I'm saying? And I went to his apartment or whatever. And this guy, he was an extremely talented musician. That's just a beautiful guy, man. Beautiful guy. Always played good bands. He was, he wasn't really a chump. He was good. I love him. I love him now. But 12 years ago, he had already had like a hip replacement or something, because he drank away. I think he said, the way he was telling me, and I'm trying to remind myself. It's hard. His brain is a little foggy since since I took the vax, Jack. So yeah. But he drank away a hip, and I don't even think we were 30. Maybe we were just about 30, and I was in peak condition. And I was like, bro, you gotta get sober, this, that, and the third. He's drinking a case of beer a night, fucking guy with the hip replacement. I'm like, dude, you fucking crazy? Like, dude, you're gonna fucking die. And then, I lost contact with him. He wasn't ready, and whatever. Life goes on, right? Life goes on. Then, so my dad is in Costco, right? Costco. My dad runs into his dad, and Jews are like Puerto Ricans, they stick together. So you got one Jew and another Jew right away. Hey, how are you? How are you? What's going on? Blah, blah, blah. I don't know, whatever. My pop gives me a call and says, hey, listen, do you remember this kid? Right? First, my dad is like losing his bird, And that's another tangent. I got mad at him about this. He calls me, and I've been burning the candle at all ends. So this is like after my swim, I think last week. So I'm laying on the couch. He calls me. He's like, "Yo," he's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I'm just like, it's like chilling." I was like half asleep. He says, "Okay." My dad is like, I don't know. There's no way to describe it. He's like fucking Larry David, but like a, with onset dementia, So he's like, "Hey, I lost the car. I can't find the car for 45 minutes. Can you believe that?" And I was like, yeah, I can. He's like, "Oh, and by the way, do you remember this guy?" So he's like, I ran into this guy. I was like, yeah. So of course. He says, yeah, his son is in fucking horrible condition, blah, blah, blah. So he asked me if I knew anybody that could help his son. I don't think the other kid's dad knows that I'm sober. Maybe he does. I don't know. But that's how the community is, where it's just like, like, hey, do you have any way that you can help me? I'm like, fuck. So then my dad's like, he's so funny. He's like, I didn't tell him anything about you. I didn't tell him anything, but I took his number. So I'll give you his number. Do you remember his kid? And then I got mad at him. My impulse, which was like, it's like, bro, what do you mean if I remember? His kid spent one weekend a month sleeping over either our house or we slept over his house once a month at minimum. I went to school with him from the time I started going to school upstate, because initially I went to school in the Bronx. So maybe first grade until sixth grade, we went to school together, and he was like one of my closest friends. We used to box in the fucking backyard. He used to make me beat up my own friends. I love that guy. Come on. How could you ask me if I even know him? And on the same day telling me that you lost the freaking car. So I'm like, fuck. He's like, all right already. All right. And I was like, yeah. I was like, all right. He's like, I said, how do I find them? He says, I have the dad's number. I said, all right, send me the dad's number and then I'll call the dad. And yeah. And so it was, and then I got off the phone and my girl was like, it's like, yo, you got to be more fucking patient with him. I said, can you believe this happened, that he lost the car? Then he's asking me if I know this person that, Meanwhile, the kid lived like a tenth of a mile from me. We all know each other. His dad came and excavated half of my backyard. You know, like we're fucking, you know, not every, yeah, we're like fucking Ju Tang, man. Like we know each other, bro. That's how it is. So either way, I give it a couple of days because I have all these instances that are going on, you know, and it's funny because like one of the guys that I'm helping out, he was celebrating an anniversary on Staten Island, like Monday. So like last minute, he's like, "Yo, come through," blah blah blah. I was like, "Absolutely." I went, you know, and it was you know, it was a good meeting, and it was funny because meeting was good. I gave him. I didn't have a coin. I said, "Dude, I don't have a coin." He said, "No, just come." So come, and I did it. And what happened? It was a great meeting. I said no to the cake. Nice. You know, it was nice to see his wife there. His wife, my soon-to-be wife, loves his wife, who's very fucking pregnant and beautiful lady. Anyway, so they have a speaker go up there, and he's like fucking, you know, he's doing like a dog and pony show, which I get it. And it's not, no disrespect to him, because I did a dog and pony show at another meeting the week before. Me and my boy Justin, we went and we sprayed a whole fucking corner of this meeting that was that we didn't like. But anyway, so I get it. Anyway, so one of the things that this kid is talking about is one of the pillars that you learn when you first get sober, which is initially it's first thought, wrong thought. And that's what that means, right? That your first reaction and your first is not a response, it's a reaction. A reaction is something is happening that invokes a feeling in you, and then your reaction is to that feeling. But since you have a perception problem, like I was talking about today, I only did, I did 6 packages instead of 5 or 4, whatever, and that's how I was in the hospital. So you take those lenses and you're interpreting life, and it invokes this emotional upheaval inside of you, which prompts a response where you are the victim and you need to defend yourself at all costs because nobody will ever love you, and the whole world is against you and nobody understands, and it's your turn now. Now it's your turn. You need to do something. That's the whole cycle, right? So they teach you in the beginning, like, first thought, wrong thought, right? And this kid, he was like harping on that. And it was so funny to me because I was thinking, like, wow, that used to be the case. And then the great I am wanted to go up to him, and now it is not the case. Now it's about, my first thought, I'd say, 85 or 89% of the time is not that victim, I need to lash out, whatever. I don't even have those kinds of responses all the time. And it's funny because I'm saying that because I'd had a lapse and I had that response to my own dad, because I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, that we know these people, they're great family friends, but you forgetting that I know the guy and losing your car in one day, dog, you are driving around on the fucking road. You could fucking kill somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know where you're fucking going or what's going on. Or it took him an hour, 45 minutes to find your car, and then you forget, anyway. So that's impulsively, I was a little bit rough with him. And whatever. So Emily's like, you need to have more patience. What's wrong with you? I was like, and that's why she's there. So that's the first thought, wrong thought. But, so this kid at the meeting, he's going on about it, and he's like harping on it. And it's it's funny. It's a jovial time. It's an anniversary. We don't need to tell fucking war stories and all this other shit and how you robbed your mom's jewelry and you fucking, whatever. It's not necessary. You know what I'm saying? in those things, because it's a happy time. People's families are there. There's kids are there. And you can tell, you can talk a little bit about how bad, how great you have it now compared to how bad it was. And, still keep it kind of like PG. Anyway, so the great I am wanted to go up to him and be like, hey, listen. And it's funny because he gave me a shout out in his like speech, and he spoke for like maybe 30 minutes. I was like, fuck, that's a long time. But he's like, oh, I remember when Jared came to this group and he spoke and he said something that was very important. He said, life is not fair. And that's one thing that I say all the time. Listen, it's not. It's fucking not. So, yeah. So I was like, oh. And then when I first got there, another kid came up, shook my hand. I vaguely remembered him. I think he was from the same group. And when I mean like I spoke at this meeting fucking a year ago. And some of, so my, whatever. Some of my talent is that, I can get up and I can speak in front of people and I can deliver a good message because I'm just 100, I try to be 100% honest, and that's what people remember. They don't remember like, oh, whatever, that you were, let me guess, you were like Pablo Escobar's fucking chauffeur, and you did this and you did that and you did that. Like, yeah, that's fine. How about like, oh, I pawned my mother's fucking jewelry that it took her 2 months to save money up for at the bodega for $40, and I fucking put myself in a position where I had to fucking abort babies, and I feel bad about it sometimes to this fucking day and all that kind of stuff, like real shit, and I've done all those. I mean, I haven't pawned my mom's jewelry since I stopped drinking, but I've done that. Yeah, I mean, I've done the other stuff in recovery. I've been to jail in sobriety. I haven't had to put my hands on anybody. I've gotten close a few times. It was funny because I think I said it to somebody else. I said, I think the reason why I hasn't, that I look crazy, but I'm not. I'm not crazy. So the great I am wanted to go up to this kid and say, hey, listen, you know what? If you keep sticking around, you keep coming around, and if you keep changing, then no, first thought is not wrong thought. It's not. First thought is, how can I help? How can I be of service? This is not about me. This is about something else. This has nothing to do with me, And it's funny because you never realize the evolution that you make until you are helping other people. Like when I have guys that I'm helping out, the guys that I'm sponsoring, whatever, and they're giving me, they're like, oh, this is going on and I'm going to do this. And I'm like, whoa. Fucking do not do that. Do not do that. So his first thought is wrong thought for him, but I wouldn't even I wasn't even thinking of that kind of stuff either. It's funny because like this guy, one of the guys, he was like telling me, he's like, okay, well, and I go through I used to go through this kind of stuff on a different wavelength where he was like, yo, I'm supposed to get my kid this weekend. It's every other weekend. I'm calling them on Thursday because I'm supposed to get them. And they're not answering the phone. And the kid's a teenager. And it's like, I'm calling, I got so angry. And we just finished doing step work. Like, this kid is really fucking doing the heavy lifting. And I love him. He's like, he went through the whole cycle. He's like, dude, they're not picking up the phone. I'm getting angry. I'm getting resentful. Then I'm even more upset. I feel disrespected, and my emotional security is threatened, and I don't want to talk to their mom because they're not answering, and blah blah blah. And I called them 25 fucking times, and whatever, and they didn't answer. And then when they finally answered, they were like, "Oh, I was sleeping," which is what kids do. Kids, they give you vague. Kids are like little drug addicts. They will give you vague answers that you can neither prove nor disprove. So that way, if you call them a liar, they can get offended. That's like the whole cycle, right? So I was like, dude, and I was like, all right, so what could you have done better? He's like, honestly, he says, I don't know. I said, that's why he's calling me. And he did everything right. He, before he blew up, he finally got a hold of them. They came over. Before he let out his anger, he called me. I was doing some other stuff. He made some other calls. He went to a meeting. Comes out of the meeting. I speak to him. He's feeling better. And so I said, listen. I said, he's like, yeah, I didn't, he's going through the whole thing with me. And I'm like, yeah, bro. I said, next time, I said, you can't. I said, he said something like, yeah, I don't want them to know, to know that I was angry or something. And I was like, well, number one, you shouldn't be ashamed of getting upset and losing your cool. And you called them 25 times in a row, so they know you're angry. And he's like, you're right. And I was like, yeah, okay. And we don't know if what they're saying is the truth, but you can tell them, listen, I'm sorry. Go home and say, look, I'm sorry that, I had a bad moment and I went into a panic. And it was because I love you and I want to spend all this time with you. And I felt that was threatened just by you not picking up. And that was all the way wrong. But that's how much I love you. And I'm sorry if that made you feel any kind of way. And so going forward, if you're supposed to come on Wednesday, on Thursdays, then on Wednesday, you set like an alarm for Thursday. Oh, call Dad at this time to double confirm me coming over. And the point is to have that conversation with them and say, listen, I had, without me telling you, I told him, I said, without you explaining, say, hey, look, man, you had a bad fucking moment. It's like a fucking ex-girlfriend that you left and then she's blowing up your phone. That's what you did. So without just being honest with them, you'll look like a crazy person. And then when you are honest with them, you look like a normal person. Because guess what? I asked him, how many times were people blowing up your phone when you were out drinking and drugging and whatevering and you just ignored it? He's like, a lot. I was like, okay. So now you know maybe where some of that comes from. Some of your reaction is like, what you were doing to other people and you are expecting, is that the right word? Or you are assuming that somebody else is doing that to you. And that's why your response is what it is. He's like, I wanted to punish them and take away blah, blah, blah. How dare you? Like, I was like, no. It's like, that's not the way. It's not the wave, Maybe not this time. Whatever. But, you can change your behaviors. And then over time, that's it. So we all got work to do. Is it first thought, wrong thought all the time? No. But now I know when it is. And it's very few and far between. I feel threatened with my parents getting older and my dad losing his fucking bird. Yeah, I feel threatened. My emotional security feels threatened because I'm like, I don't want to fucking take care of him. I don't, bro, it takes so much for me to take care of myself, so much. And to my family is the ones that are non-compliant. It takes a lot. And somebody like him is going to be non-compliant, but this is who we are. I gotta do something, and it's going to take a little bit at a time and it's all going to be okay, but without, number one, without God. Number two, without program. Well, I should say program first. Without AA, there is no God for me. So I always say I learned this from my brother William, who I fucking love, out there in California. Shout out to him. He says AA first, God the most, and then everything else. So without God, without AA, without my family, my family that is my relatives and my family that is all of you, I will self-destruct and then hide underneath a pile of dirty rugs. That's what I'll do. I'll hide from the earth, eat pizza, watch fucking porn, and just be miserable. But if I decide to go through that pain a little bit and just be honest with myself and have you guys hold my hand, I appear to be an effective leader in society and an effective member of the human race. So that's where we're at with it. Like and subscribe on all podcast platforms. The record that we played in the beginning, I love that old soul. That's soul music. Yeah, I love that old. That's like from the 70s. You know, I love that shit. That it's Curtis Mayfield and these other guys. What was this fucking thing? Oh, Willie Hutch. That was Willie Hutch. You know, that whole sound. You know, that whole sound was amazing. And yeah, and it's bizarre because that song is not on any streaming platforms. You got to go to YouTube to find it. But that's where you can go to find all the other nice stuff too. Anyway, I'm getting into babbling territory. I love you guys. Like and subscribe, share all the episodes with your friends, your family. Even if you want to offend somebody, you can share it with them. And that'll be nice too. Peace. Okay, everybody, we'd like to thank you for joining us on the Spiritual Experience. Please don't forget to like and subscribe on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, Google, Pandora, everywhere. And please find us on Facebook where you can become part of our family. We'll see you around.